Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Only Football. Today, we are going over the rest of our Week 8 predictions. We are going to go into our favorite matchups. There's no conspiracies today, but we're going to get into a brand new segment we're going to introduce. And of course, we're going to end it off with the little chives with Kyle. Let's get it.
Let's go. Welcome to Only Football. My name is Kyle, and that's Rick.
I'm Rick, that's Kyle.
We are excited. We just got done watching some Thursday night football between the Buffalo Bills. It was a great game, man. It really was. But we got a lot of really good games coming our way this Sunday. I'm excited to get right into it, starting with our predictions. Rick, we got the first and second overall picks going against each other in Bryce Young and the Texans. What are you thinking? Who's going to win this one?
This is going to be the greatest matchup of all time between two top prospects, the number one, the number two. Oh, wait. No, never mind. I don't give a shit about this. The Texans are going to win this game, dude. Come on. The Carolina Panthers suck. It's going to be a bad day for the Panthers against this Texans team. They both are coming out of byes. The Texans coming off a win. The Panthers still winless. It's going to be rough all day for Bryce Young and this Panthers team, although they have been scoring some more points. You know, they put up, 24, 21 against the Dolphins, something like that, before the Dolphins just blew the doors off of them. So the offense seems to be clicking a little bit better than it was at the beginning of the season, really. So I don't know. Maybe it will be a game. I just think for myself that the Texans are going to come out how they have been against all these teams. They're going to be a tough out no matter what. CJ Stroud is going to play just as well. He's going to get it to everybody on the team. Was it Damian Pierce is the running back? You got Nico. Oh my God, what's his name? The guy,
Ryans?
No, not the Nico Ryans. The receiver for the Texans. I don't know his name right now. But he's getting the ball around. He's only had 2 interceptions through 6-7 weeks. I think he scores 2 touchdowns in this one, 0 interceptions, 320 yards for CJ Stroud and the Texans. Texans win in Carolina.
Yeah, I got the Texans winning this game too. I mean, I respect Carolina's chances to win this game being at home. You know, eventually you got to win one, and are the Texans really that good? But I'm still going to go with the Texans here. It's just I can see that side, but it's not enough for me to change my pick. I think CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryans, the defensive side of the ball for the Texans has been surprisingly good. I think it would be a far stretch to think that, you know, without winning any games this year, that Carolina's going to come out and play a totally different game. I'm not really buying it. And when it comes to the passing defense, opponent passing yards per game, Carolina is actually ranked at number 9, which isn't terrible at all. Like, we can agree on that, right? A top 10 passing offense. While Houston is, where I just had them. Houston's ranked 26. So we've seen them stumble as of late. The problem is Carolina doesn't have a real number 1 receiver. They had one in DJ Moore. They shipped him off to Chicago so they could get a mediocre quarterback at least at this point in the season. But it's going to be really exciting to see Bryce Young and CJ Stroud go against each other. This is always a fun game, and I'm with you. I'm taking the Panthers in this.
And Steve is saying, I'm predicting the team with the most points will probably win this game in the end. That's a good one, Steve. Sometimes.
Oh man. You got anything else on this game?
Nope. Texans by 10.
By 10. Wow. By 10. All right. So you had it here. I'm just taking the Panthers or the Texans, not by 10. Not by 10. 10. But I respect it. Our next game, we got the Los Angeles Rams going into Dallas to take on the Cowboys. The Rams coming off of a interesting game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, one that they couldn't win. Now they're going to play a Dallas team who had the loss against the 49ers, really embarrassing. But then they, 4 days later, come back and they beat the Chargers on primetime. Now they've had some rest. They're at home. I'm taking the Cowboys. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, man, you mentioned it. The loss against the 49ers, probably the worst one they will have this season. And then the Chargers game, good game. It seemed like it was close, but not really. Herbert's not playing well. Whatever. Dallas came in with a win. Bam. They go into their bye off that short rest. They get even more days of rest, basically like 2.5 weeks of rest. McCarthy is 11-5 following bye weeks. So the Cowboys have that to look forward to. And I believe they won last year after their bye week as well. The Rams coming off a pretty bad loss against the Steelers, like you mentioned. Matthew Stafford is he's good, he's bad, he's hot, he's cold. It's tough sometimes. Like he gets it to Puka Nacua a lot, or he gets it to Cooper Kupp, and they're able to score a lot. They're not able to score a lot. The kicker, Brett Maher, has been released from the team. I think the Rams are falling apart. This is when the Rams start to just look helpless. The Cowboys at home are going to win. Dak Prescott's going to shine in this game, in my opinion. CeeDee Lamb's going to get a touchdown. I think Tony Pollard's going to get a touchdown. And Micah Parsons is getting 2 sacks in this game. Cowboys at home.
Wow. 2 sacks for Micah Parsons?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm with you kind of on the Cowboys thing. I think the Cowboys are going to play a really good, complete football game. By the way, the 49ers have lost 2 in a row. So I think the Cowboys kind of want to take advantage of the losses coming from somebody that is competing for a number 1 seed. So I expect the Cowboys to be fully prepared. The kicker, they are working out Mason Crosby, who you will definitely know who that is from being a Bears fan, longtime Packer. Apparently, Mason Crosby was sending videos out of him kicking field goals off of a boat to remind teams that he still got it. And I mean, you knew the Mayer thing was going to maybe come back and hurt them. And they just got to cut him, man. You got to be able to make your kicks, whatever's going on. You know, it's a very mental thing, kicking, right? It's like being good at pool or bowling or golf. It's a lot of it's in the head. So I think, you know, we'll see what they end up doing, but I just don't think it matters. I think the Rams, they're not what they were last year, right? And we weren't really sure what their ceiling was when they started winning early, but I think we've seen enough now to, I don't want to say bring them down to like mediocre, but bring them down a little bit. I mean, they lost to the Steelers, who weren't able to get anything going offensively. And, you know, the Cowboys are, in a way, I mean, just 1 win, man. They're not even thinking about the 49er thing anymore. I like the confidence. And the Cowboys played that game in San Francisco. And then the following week, they went to LA to play the Chargers. So the Cowboys are coming home, which is a big deal. Yeah. So I'm with you here. I got the Cowboys.
Yeah, I that, you know, you mentioned that 2 losses to the 49ers. They got to take advantage of that to really regain their spot atop the NFC. I don't know. I just don't know if the Cowboys can do that again, you know, or just for the first time this season. I still think the 49ers overall are going to be the better team than the Cowboys, but they can do something here with this game against the Rams.
Definitely. And our next game is going to be is going to be a good one. This is an old school NFC North rivalry. We got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Green Bay Packers. I got to say, this game is confusing as hell. I'm not going to use my don't touch it on it. I'm going to take the Vikings to win in Lambeau. I think the Vikings are a better team than their record shows. And I think they're starting to show you that, that 49ers game wasn't a fluke. That was a slow build, and it led to that. But I think this Vikings team, all the things we predicted in the beginning of the season about Brian Flores making the defense a little bit better, and the fact that if the defense gets a little bit better, maybe they're not in so many one-score games that they have to win. I think it's taken a little bit of time, but I think the Vikings are kind of rolling right now. And as much as I'm not totally confident in this one, I'm going to have to roll with the Vikings here.
Yeah, same, dude. The Vikings, without Justin Jefferson for 2 weeks, have 2 wins. So think about that, right? Like, Vikings without their best wide receiver in the NFL have 2 wins. They're 2-0 right now without him. And credit a lot to Jordan Addison and Kirk Cousins, who just on Monday night against the 49ers proved all that primetime Kirk shit. Nah, we got that dub. They got the dub against the 49ers, and they are riding high. Sure, they beat the Bears, with a backup quarterback. At the time, it's like, okay, whatever. You beat them by 3 points, 4 points, whatever it may be. But you go and you beat the 49ers, and I think they were in San Francisco. Am I correct on that?
Yep.
Yeah. No. Sorry, they were in Minnesota.
When they played, they were at home.
Yeah, they were at home. Like, you take a win like that, you're going to take that and you're going to run with it, especially against the weak team in the division with the Packers. The Packers, 2 or 3 losses in a row now, something like that. Like, they came off a bad loss against the Broncos, one in which they were basically in it the whole game. And this is kind of like a lot of people had the Packers winning the division. And they're proving to be a team that they can get the ball downfield. They can score some points. Jordan Love will take shots, but they just can't win at the end of it. They can't. They got that interception late in the game against the Raiders. They just lost last week against the Broncos in a game where the offense looked rough. They're not getting Christian Watson involved. They're better wide receiver, like they're getting Dubs or whatever involved. And it just seems like a mess. I don't know what's going on there. We talk about them running the ball, and they should be running the ball with AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones. But even that, it's just like, what are we doing here? Like run the ball, but also pass the ball to your premier guy. They just haven't found that balance yet. LaFleur, man, he's looking pretty rough as a coach. I don't know what to say other than I'm taking the Vikings in Lambeau.
Yeah, and against the pass, Green Bay's been pretty good this season. They're ranked 8th in opponent passing yards per game. And then when you look at rushing yards per game, Green Bay's ranked 30th. So I think we have a large enough sample size to say Green Bay's really good at stopping the pass, not so good at stopping the run. I think Alexander Mattison is going to have a big game in this one. And if you got me already feeling confident on one side, and then you add in, one of these teams is going to be able to run the ball efficiently.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the Vikings here as well. So I'm right there with you on the Vikings. Do you got anything else on this game?
No, and just kind of like what Bill said here, I predict at least 2. You like that moments for Kirk. I like that. I like that. I like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So our next game is a super confusing one, unless your name's Jinjo. We got New Orleans playing Indianapolis. Look, I'm taking the Saints here on the road. I really, man, my eyes opened. Since Alvin Kamara has come back from his 4-game suspension, he has been a factor in every game. I think he's going to be the best player on the field. I think the Saints are just a little bit the better team here, and I'm just leaning that way. It may be wrong. Indy is favored to win this game, so technically I'm going with an underdog, but I'm taking the Saints.
I 100% agree with you. New Orleans, I think, is going to take this game, even in Indianapolis. Gardner Minshew had a great game against the Browns last week, and great in terms of look at the points they scored. Look at the way they were able to get the ball down the field, right? Like in terms of that, statistically, not a great game. Still had a bunch of interceptions and turnovers. So, you know, you kind of you take what you can get from Gardner Minshew in a starting spot like that when he's been basically a backup quarterback his entire career, other than that 1 year in Jacks. And you see what he did there, and you're just like, yeah, I'll take the 38 points from Gardner Minshew in a start. Cool. And then you see what happened with the Saints against the Jacks. They were able to make that a game late into the game. You know, Foster Moreau unable to bring that touchdown pass in. Is what it is. That's going to happen, right? But Derek Carr is kind of getting the ball around to other people. And yes, Alvin Kamara, ever since he got back, has looked great. I saw a graphic earlier today that Alvin Kamara and CMC stats side by side, they're basically the same running back, dude. They're basically the same running back, catching wise, running wise, yards wise, touchdowns wise. Like they are up there in terms of being reliable players. So I'm taking the team with Alvin Kamara, who's very comparable to CMC. I think Derek Carr and the Saints are going to get this win. And just like the Bucs lost today, while it's not going to be crazy significant that they get this win, Saints are going to maybe start rolling here. Maybe start rolling and get the division here under wraps, hopefully.
Yeah, in last week against Cleveland's defense, like Indy was able to get things going offensively. That was a really, really impressive game that they had. The way I look at it though, man, I just don't see the Colts being able to do that on a continuous basis. There's a lot of new they have, you know, different quarterbacks coming in. I'm not sure if the Gardner Minshew thing is, you know, it's, I don't know. Let me just break it down to Derek Carr versus Gardner Minshew. And now with Alvin Kamara kind of in the mix, the thing is the Saints know how to use Alvin Kamara. And that is really great because you know how many times we see talent and it's just not used in the correct way. It seems like everybody is on the same page. Get Alvin Kamara the ball and let him be a factor. Last week, Derek Carr was criticized for how conservative he was, but they were down to their third and fourth offensive tackles against the Jaguars. So
a lot of pressure.
There may be more that meets the eye there. I think the Saints a little more healthy, just a little more identity and a little more talent take the dub here.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. Indy at home, it just doesn't scare me.
Right, exactly. It's not like, oh, they're going, you know, somewhere, you know, that's really tough to play. It's not like a stadium that's rocking. No offense, Jinja. I hate saying that. But it's not. Our next game is New England at Miami, and this is the opposite. But was it only this way because of the weather? Was it only this way because of the heat? For whatever it's worth, Miami has only lost football games on the road. It was 2 football games. They almost lost on a road game in New England. Then they ended up losing one in Buffalo, and then they lost one in Philly. There's no, I guess there's no shame in those losses. But now they're coming back home. They normally score between 50 and 70 points at home. New England's coming off a really impressive win as well. So I think this game may appear closer to some people, but I'm going to go with Miami to win this by, 10 to 14 points minimum.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's going to be a tough one for New England to win in Miami. New England beat the Bills. You know, they're continuing to be pretty decent in the division. But you cannot expect Mac Jones to have another game like he did against the Bills, right? Like you can't. Mac Jones, his entire career so far and over 2.5, 3 years, whatever it is, it's just not likely. It hasn't been likely. The Patriots have gotten wins basically by the skin on their teeth, if we're being real, right? So that's kind of how it's been. Now, historically, the Patriots have beaten the Dolphins quite a bit from the 2000s into the 2010s. The Patriots have a 25-15 record against the Dolphins.
They had Tom Brady that whole time.
Yep. And now we get into the 2020s. The Dolphins are 5-2. and probably going to move to 6-2. I'm taking the Dolphins 100%. They're going to come off this loss against Philadelphia. Mike McDaniels is going to want to score 77 points this time. He's going to want to go for the fucking record if they can. And this defense for the Patriots, pretty solid over the last couple years. Nowhere near the same defense this year under Bill Belichick. I don't know what's going on. It's just not the same. I think the Dolphins, like you said, are going to win by multiple touchdowns.
I'm glad you bring that up, because that's kind of my next slide here, is that New England's defense has played without a number of key players in most of this season. They're getting some players back, which matters because the Dolphins only have a couple game sample size of them going against an elite defense. We saw Buffalo and we saw Philly, and we saw what happened. Remember when Miami played New England week 1? Mm-hmm. New England almost won that game. So, like, I don't think that this game is going to be an old school blowout by any means. I do think it's going to be sneaky. This is an upset alert type of game. Not confident enough to make it an upset pick, but it's definitely on the lookout. It's definitely a game that I'm like checking back in to see. Now, Miami should handle their business, but it's the NFL. What should and could happen are totally different.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see what happens. I love Miami in this. Bill plays the division tough. So again, could be an upset alert, but we're not going to put it there yet.
And we got a game that you're going to love, Bill, because this is going to be the New York Jets playing their big brother, if you want to say it that way, the New York Giants, a MetLife battle, if you will. But the New York Jets are going to be the visitor. Not sure if that even matters an ounce when you got two fan bases that are pretty loyal living in the same area. It's not like I don't know. It's like if the Chargers and Rams played. Those are the only other teams, right, that share a stadium, I believe. So, yeah, this is the New York Jets playing the New York Giants. The Giants, it's not a fluke, man. They did what they did against Buffalo. They had a chance to win the game. I was willing to bet that it wasn't a fluke, and I picked the Giants last week to win. That was an upset. The Giants ended up getting the win. Now that you got to think they're feeling pretty good about themselves. They have a really great head coach, so they're well coached. They have Saquon Barkley. They looked better these last couple of weeks. You make no doubt about it. But guess what? So have the Jets, man. The Jets played Kansas City really tough. They ended up losing, but it was a moral victory for Zach Wilson. Then the next week, they beat the Denver Broncos at home, which was, it might not look like it, but it was a huge game, right? Sean Payton and Nathaniel Hackett. It was a huge game. And then the week after that, the Jets beat Philly. And now they got to play the Giants. There's no home field advantage. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Don't Touch It.
It's so funny because, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rick's Game of the Week. Because guess what, Kyle? No matter what, no matter the outcome, I get New York tears. I get New York tears to drink up. Nom, 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 nom. I love it. This is my game of the week.
Why do you do this to Bill every week?
Bill knows I love him. I fucking love Bill. But I love this game because, yes, they're both New York teams. I win either way because of the New York tears, like I said. With the Giants coming off a win, they scored their first touchdowns in the first half, offensive touchdowns in the first half this entire season. That's important because they've only been able to score anything in the second half, right? So you would think, right? Yeah, maybe the Giants might come into this and score, maybe be scoreless in the first half like they have been all season and get really get some points in the second half. The thing is, the Jets are number one in second half points allowed. 5.2 points allowed in the second half. If the Giants do not score in the first half, and I'm talking like 3 touchdowns and maybe a couple field goals, 27 points, this is going to be a terrible game for the Giants and Tyrod Taylor. Even Dable. Dable is an offensive guy. He wowed the NFL with what he was able to do with Danny Dimes last year. it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough for the Giants. And the Jets, like you mentioned, have had great success in the last couple of weeks. They beat Philly. Their defense is looking as dominant as they did last year. Zach Wilson looking like okay, like he looks a little bit better, like game manager type of Zach Wilson. Aaron Rodgers may come back for the playoffs if they are able to do so. Dude, this is the New York versus New York. Brown bald man versus white bald man. I'm going to love this game. Again, Rick's game of the week, my game of the week, because I taste tears and I see two baldies going at it.
Well, for me, I'm going to make an official pick at this point. I know I said don't touch it, but if you're going to force my hand, I'm taking the Jets.
Same.
The reason I'm taking the Jets is because New York, whichever one, New York Jets and the New York Giants have the 27th and 28th run defense in the NFL. So both teams are very bad at stopping the run, which is very surprising, right? When you think about the Jets, you don't think that their run defense is that bad, but stats don't lie at this point in the season.
Yeah.
27th and 28th. So what's the question? Well, who can run the football better? When I look at rushing yards per game, the Giants are 21st. They're getting 99.9 yards. We'll call it 100 yards per game. The Jets, they're getting 117 yards per game, which is only 17 yards, but it jacks them all the way up to number 12. Here's why I think it matters. Not because 17 yards ultimately makes that big of a difference. It's because Breece Hall, coming back healthy and striding the way he is going to make the Jets get way more. I mean, than that 17, that's going to keep going up because Breece Hall's rolling right now. And don't think about it, man. If you're looking at Zach Wilson and you're thinking, oh, they're going to try. No, they're not going to try to beat you with Zach Wilson's arm. They're not. They're going to try to run the football and play good defense and hope Aaron Rodgers comes back. So I'm going to take the team that's going to have more success running the football, and I think that's going to be the Jets in this game.
That's a good one. I'm taking the Jets based on their defense and what the Giants offense hasn't been able to do. You're taking them for the run. I'm taking them for the defense.
There was a game that happened, I believe it was 2009, maybe 2010. The Jacksonville Jaguars made it to the playoffs on the back of David Garrard. I don't know if you remember him, but they made it into the playoffs. And they actually won a playoff game. I was at a bowling alley when this happened in Jacksonville. The place totally erupted. The team they beat, it's kind of turned into a rivalry in a way. We're going to get it on Sunday. Jacksonville Jaguars are going to Pittsburgh. You got two teams that got a couple losses that are feeling really good about themselves. Mike Tomlin's defense is playing good. The offense is starting to play better. But Jacksonville, they made a top 5 entry. And I've said it 3 weeks in a row, and it's still true on this week, so I'll say it again. I picked Jacksonville to be the number 1 seed in the AFC, so as many unwinnable games or as many toss-ups that I see, I'm going to pick Jacksonville to win the games that they're going to have to win for that to be true. I think Jacksonville's a really good team, and these are the kind of games that they have to win to prove it. I think they do on the road. It's going to be tough.
This is going to be a tough one for Jacksonville. And I talked about how the Lions a few weeks ago, hey, man, this is probably when they start rolling. The Jacksonville Jaguars have been, in a sense, quietly rolling. They had those 2 games in London, which were very early in the day for us. We didn't watch those. We didn't stream those. So, at least for us, and I think a lot of the media, too, and a lot of fans, they were quietly rolling. If they can get this Pittsburgh win, man, it is going to be an all-out just Jags top team in the AFC type of hype, I guess you can say, for the Jaguars. And I like the Jaguars too. The Pittsburgh Steelers last week, their running backs were having a day. Najee Harris got a touchdown. Jaylen Warren got a touchdown. Kenny Pickett rushed for a touchdown. The thing is, the Jags have the number 4 rush defense, and they're only letting up 81 yards a game. So this is going to be tough because right now Kenny Pickett is still somewhat struggling passing the ball. Like not until George Pickens got back or Deontay Johnson, until he got back, was he able to like have a really good game, right? So I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to make Kenny Pickett pass the ball. They're going to put pressure on him and they're going to make him beat them. They're going to make him beat that Jags defense. And I don't know if Kenny Pickett has it, man. Even at home, terrible towels waving. It doesn't fucking matter. Trevor Lawrence is going to go in there with his glorious locks, with Travis Etienne, with Calvin Ridley, with Evan Ingram, and they're going to win. They're going to win by 10.
Yeah. And I think when it comes down to it, when you have two teams like Pittsburgh's better, I think maybe better defensively than the Jags. Like I know the Jags are taking the ball away and their run defense is really good, but the Steelers have a really good defense and they also have a really good team. When the preseason started, man, I was like, man, Jalen Warren and Najee Harris and all this talent with Kenny Pickett getting that continuity that Baker Mayfield doesn't have that we talked about. Like I thought the Steelers could potentially be some kind of breakout surprise team. I think I picked them to go 11 wins. And I felt like by week 3 that I was an idiot. And now here we are in week 8 and the Steelers have been winning football games. So in a way, I really do feel like this game is kind of a and this might sound like an overreaction, but I'm telling you, it's not. This is a season-defining game for the Steelers. Yeah. If you can win this game, it's okay. You beat the Rams. That's cool. Can you beat a team like Jacksonville that's coming in hot from 5-game winning streak? Like, can you win a game like that at home? Because this is Pittsburgh's. This is their test right here. If they would have played Jacksonville week 1, it's not really the right time for a test. Right now is a perfect time for a test. You got the Steelers feeling pretty good. So I do think this is going to be a little bit of a back and forth, but I'm telling you, if any one of these teams is able to get a statement win similar to what the Ravens did against the Lions, the stock is going to go way up on that team overnight. I'm talking about one of these teams is going to be around number 7 or number 6 in the top 5. So this is going to be a huge game. I'm excited, man. This is the game I want to watch at 1:00. This is going to be a really fun one. There's so many good matchups this week. I'll say one thing. I mentioned my mom asking me all my picks. I told her this is like a really bad week for you to play this game. Yeah. Because there's a lot of games that just, man, it's like, ooh, I don't know. I kind of know. Let me think about it. Okay, I'll pick someone. But yeah, this was definitely one that was not easy. But I'm gonna go with the Jacksonville Jaguars, 5-2 versus 4-2. We'll see who's right and who's wrong by the end of it.
Yeah, and I want to get to Bill's comments here. Did you see the little towel controversy with what Trevor said? It's hilarious. No, Bill, but please actually put it in the comments so we could read it real quick. You mentioned the inconsistent talent there with Pittsburgh, with the young guys, right? And how you said the Jags take it away. I think that's exactly what's going to happen, man. Kenny Pickett's gonna throw the ball away, and the Steelers right now at 4-2. To me, they seem like the worst 4-2 team, the worst team with 2 losses, I would say, right now in the NFL.
Yeah, and our next game is really funny because we keep getting the same tier teams playing each other no matter how many weeks. It's like, haven't we seen this game 7 times already?
Yep.
The Atlanta Falcons coming in to Nashville, where I am right now.
Oh my
God. I'm taking Tennessee. I'll tell you why. All right. It's because of one reason. Well, it's really because of three reasons. Number 1, I'm taking Tennessee because if Ryan Tannehill doesn't play, Malik Willis doesn't play, which has not been the case this far. All we've seen is this Malik Willis come in. And look, the first time I saw him play, I said, he is not an NFL quarterback. I rarely write someone off from the go, especially a rookie. I'm telling you, he did not belong on the field. He fooled everybody. I don't know how he even got drafted, dude. The Titans played the Chiefs last year on Sunday night, and it was like 3-3 in overtime. and this dude could not complete a pass. He had like 3
Yeah.
completions on the night. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
It was rough.
how is he out there? He was the most qualified guy. Now they drafted Will Levis. They're going to let him start the game. And because of that decision, I'm telling you, if Malik Willis plays this game, I'm taking Atlanta. I'm not thinking twice about it. The fact that Will Levis is going to start, it might seem like a little bit of gamble. I'm going with someone I've never seen play, but I'm going to go with him. And the reason is because Mike Vrabel is one of the best underdogs at home in our league. And here he is as an underdog at home. You got Derrick Henry. You got, dual running backs for the first time. You can keep Derrick Henry kind of fresh. I'm going to take Tennessee here, but this is just another game that's like, what do you want from me?
You know what my notes are for this game when I go to pick the game and I put who I want to win the game. Do you know what it is?
Who knows?
It's Titans, I guess. I don't fucking know, dude. It doesn't matter. It doesn't exist on the fucking.
It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not fucking real. Okay.
I'm taking Vrabel, and I'm taking the Titans, and I'm taking Derrick Henry at home. Like, that's who I'm taking. Atlanta looks like absolute
dog shit.
Yes, they look like absolute dog shit. Thank you for catching that one, Kyle. Sorry for the long pause, everybody, but
I needed it.
Yeah, we needed it. They look like absolute dog shit, man. Desmond Ridder turned over the ball 3 times in the red zone. Like, you can't win with that. And yet somehow they did. So maybe I'm picking the wrong team. Either way, Tennessee at home, Vrabel at home. I got to take the Titans, man. And that's all I could say. That's all I really care to say.
Man, I'm feeling like, I want to go with I'm sticking with it. I'm not speaking it into existence, but the Falcons are with a winning record. They're in control of the NFC South. Atlanta's defense is giving up the 9 fewest points per game this season. This is
insane.
The Arthur Smith identity. We're going to run the football and we're going to play good defense. Now, it hasn't been perfect by any means, right? It just hasn't. When you look at Atlanta, it's like, okay, you're going to play defense, and what's the other thing you're going to do? Run the football. Mm-hmm. Atlanta right now is 8th running the football. Okay, so that's pretty good too. So, I mean, there is a side where Atlanta wins this game because they're just playing better in Tennessee had. But I'm betting on Mike Vrabel. That's it. That's it. I'm betting on Mike Vrabel to will this team into a victory on the back of Will Levis. I know I'm seeing stuff right now that says they're going to deploy a combination of Malik Willis with Will Levis. That's too many Ivis. None. We can only have one. It's either Willis or Levis, but you can't use both. I hope they don't mess around with that unless it's like twice in the game. But come on, just let what Malik Willis is. Let Will Levis. I can't do this anymore. Let him go out there and show you what he is. Right? He's the only one of these two that is an unknown.
I don't know what the Falcons' rush defense is in terms of yard, but this just feels like a Derrick Henry 150, 175, 200-yard type of game and a score at minimum. So that's another thing I had in the back of my brain, but also Titans, I guess. I don't fucking know, dude.
Titans, I guess. Tighten up. That's what they say here. And it's like the opposite of bear down. Our next game of the week was a very close game last time we saw this play. Washington ended up not getting the win, but they played really close with Philly 3 weeks ago, and Philly had to, I believe, kick a game-winning field goal to get the win. So Washington definitely feels like they can win this game. However, I think Philly's just now getting into form. So I'm going to take Philly here. As much as I believe in the Commanders, I just believe in Philly the most. That's all this is.
Yeah, same. I'm taking the Eagles in this. It looked like a game last week against the Dolphins, and Dolphins made it a game. And going into starting the third quarter, right? The Eagles' offense for these last couple weeks, it seemed like, oh shit, they're having trouble starting up. Blah blah blah. The Commanders' defense, the front four, we talk about it all the time. Everybody says it. It's so talented. There's so many first-round picks on that line. That defense, even with a rookie corner, like they can still get to the quarterback. That just is not the case. Ron Rivera is like checked out. he's got senioritis right now. He knows he's not going to be on this team next year. He knows it for sure. And I don't think he will be. I can say it right now. Ron Rivera will not be the coach of the Commanders next year. Now, with that being said, Philly might start off offensively. It's going to probably start off slow again because of like the defense. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like Jalen Hurts might start it off slow, just how he has been. But eventually they're going to get into a groove, like you said. And in the second half, they're going to put this game away probably towards the beginning of the fourth quarter. If they can do what I've been saying the Bills and the Bears to do, is put your pedal to the fucking metal, just like they did to the Dolphins last week, they should be able to win this game, no problem. The Commanders just cannot score. Sam Howell is the most sacked quarterback in the league right now. And it's tough to get any points on the board, to get any offense going when your quarterback's getting sacked all the time. Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, they are great runners, effective runners. They can't seem to get shit going, man. And against this Eagles defense, it's going to be even harder. So I'm taking the Eagles, especially, I forget, are they at home?
Yeah, they're going to be at home this time.
No. They're in Washington.
No. What?
Yeah, they're in DC. So.
Oh, the one I was reading. I see. Can we settle this right now?
Yeah.
Because it says Commanders versus Eagles, but I always thought the verse. So I guess if they use verse, the home team's before, but if they use at, the home team is at.
Yeah, the home team is on the right if it says at. So yeah, the Eagles are away. The Commanders are going to be home dogs, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. The Commanders are going to be home dogs, and they should. The Eagles are playing really good right now. The Eagles are, I put them at number 1 in my top five. I think really what I saw from the Eagles on Sunday night against that Miami offense, I feel like the Eagles sometimes kind of play down to competition. Now, their first loss last year was against the Commanders. They had to go to overtime this year against the Commanders. So this Commanders team is like the Achilles heel of the Philadelphia Eagles. But in that same way, I believe that the Eagles know that at this point. This is not a trap game anymore. The Eagles know that they have to show up. They're coming off of the Miami win. I think that they win this game, and I'm going to predict that this one, excluding all the other games that we've seen the last 2 games, I'm going to say this is the one that is not a close game. I'm going to say this is going to be the one where the Eagles have controlled this game early and never lose it. But I will say Sam Howell's looking like the long-term answer at quarterback the way I watch football.
Yeah.
I've seen enough from him to say, yeah, dude, you've earned another year. You're the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, and you're still doing what you're doing. Sam Howell is looking really good. So,
yeah,
I mean, if you have a really good quarterback, you'll always have a chance. So I understand that there's a scenario where the Commanders play this game closely, but I'm just not picking it to happen. I'm picking the Eagles, Eagles.
Eagles. Yeah.
Eagles. I wish I knew their song or something like that. I don't.
I feel the same way. Sam Howell, he's had multiple games, I think, now that he's thrown over 300 yards, and it's just like, wow, that's crazy that the Commanders have a quarterback throwing over 300. They just got to figure out that offensive line. They need to protect this guy. Throw in that extra running back. Throw in a tight end to chip the fucking defensive end. Do something to protect this guy, man, because clearly he just does not have enough time, or this offensive line is absolutely atrocious. I'm going with absolutely atrocious. Fix the line.
Absolute
keep dog shit.
Absolutely. So that is going to be our Philly prediction. Now, this next game is actually my don't touch it. I know I said there was a don't touch it earlier, but I got to roll with this one right now. This is a tough one, and I wrote it backwards, so forgive me as I retype it in really quick. This is the Cincinnati Seahawks. Dude, I'm so the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Seahawks. No, it's not. Why do I keep doing that, dude? I'm really dyslexic.
It's the Browns at Seahawks.
It's the Browns at Seahawks. Thank you. I had it all messed up. The Browns are playing the Seahawks. I'm taking the Seahawks at home. Now, I think Cleveland is a really good football team, but there's no certainty that Deshaun Watson's coming back for this game. He addressed some of the conversations that have been going around the league about, does he even want to play? Is he dedicated playing? And he was like, basically like, I fought 2 years to get back here. Why the hell would I be here if I didn't want to play? So he kind of shot that down, but Seattle at home, it's a tough place to play. I don't necessarily think Cleveland is going to lose this game by a lot. This is why it's my don't touch it. I'm taking the home team. But if you give me Deshaun Watson, I'm taking Cleveland.
Deshaun Watson is out, I think. And I think the head coach, Stefanski, has confirmed that, although he confirmed that on like Tuesday. So who knows exactly what happens, right? Or Wednesday morning, whatever it was. So maybe Watson is out. Maybe he's not. The story here is both of these defenses outside of Watson, both of these defenses, the Seattle defense and the Browns defense, they're both giving up and averaging 19 points on the defensive side. Myles Garrett is playing like a fucking monster, dude. Witherspoon on the Seahawks is playing like a monster too. Like these two defenses are going to have great games, I think. And really, when you weigh out the options on defense, it's equal. But then you get to the offenses, right? PJ Walker, fucking Kareem Hunt, he's effective, but I mean, he scored a touchdown too, so meh. Ford, nice little bright spot for the Browns. But then you get to the Seahawks side, you got DK Metcalf, Smith is playing really well. Kenneth Walker III is playing really well. You still got the other fucking guy, the other wide receiver there for Seattle. These guys are playing good, man.
JSN?
Jackson Smith and Jigba, but the other guy, the guy who's been there for like ever.
Oh, Tyler
Lockett. Those guys are just so much better than the offensive weapon the Browns have. The defenses are pretty equal, and I think Myles Garrett, like I said, is an absolute beast, and he's going to have his sack, his fumble, his whatever he's going to have. But I think offensively, the Seahawks are much more talented, and I think they get this win out. And it's going to be a very, very close game. I'm talking like 17-14, 20-17. The Seattle Seahawks are going to win this game.
Yeah, and it's funny because Rick and I've been putting the Browns in my top 5 for the last couple of weeks, and
I've been laughing at them.
And my mom is sitting here with a ticket to win $100,000, and she asks me who's going to win. And it's like, you really find out what you feel, when you have that much on the line. It's like, is my Cleveland Browns pride really going to get in the way of this? Yeah. And I was like, no, I mean, that's when the truth comes out. I think Seattle really wins this game. Yeah. But it's really about the quarterback, man. If this is Deshaun Watson versus Geno Smith with 2 great defenses, and also the Browns are missing Nick Chubb for this whole season. Kareem Hunt, I don't know if he took too much time off, but he hasn't really made a big impact since he got re-signed by the Browns, which was the perfect place for him. So I expected him to kind of roll right away. It's not been the case. And then for Seattle, I think they're kind of forming a defensive identity, like you said, which last year they only had an identity on offense. They were winning their games 48-45. Yeah. So I think Seattle's still kind of learning who they are. Like, okay, we're a good defensive team. Well, that kind of raises our ceiling from the divisional round to the NFC Championship if our offense can start playing like they played last year. Yep. And I think this is a game Seattle is going to kind of get. I don't want to say they're going to blow them out, but I just think Seattle's in a much better situation than Cleveland, if that makes sense.
100% agree with that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take Seattle with you. I know we haven't disagreed on a pick yet, but don't worry, because we will. If not on this next game, definitely on the next game. We're not going to disagree on this game, I'll tell you that. So it'll definitely be the next game. Let's roll into our next game. The Baltimore Ravens, who just smacked that ass all over the Cleveland or the Lions, dude. They completely embarrassed them. I mean, they made the Lions look like Dog
Dog
shit.
shit.
Absolute dog shit. And then and for the Ravens, man, that was the best game I've seen from Lamar Jackson in 2 years, I think. So I think I love where Baltimore's at right now. Arizona, I think they've lost 4 in a row at this point. So I remember just in week 4, we were like, everyone's got to know this is a work trip when you're going to Arizona. And, that I was right at that point in the season because they were playing really feisty. And I just think it's kind of that point in the season where they're losing their fight because they're losing their games. That really kind of takes a toll. If you've been a part of a losing franchise, you know what it looks like to, give everyone your best fight. But then by week 9, you just have nothing left to give.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening. I think you got Baltimore feeling great. That's a terrible combo. I'm thinking Baltimore wins this game by 17 or more.
Yep. I could not agree with you more. The Ravens are coming off a great win against a better defense in the NFC, and the Lions, obviously they got smacked, right? But we talked about that. What were the opportunities for the Lions? They were going for it on 4th downs when they could have gotten field goals. That would have made the game closer. That would have changed the entire shift of the game. The Ravens came away still with a dominant win, especially on offense. Lamar had a great game. The passing game had a great game. Like, he was rushing for touchdowns. The running game was good. The Ravens, when they're away, they're scoring 22 points on average. The Cardinals at home are giving up an average of 27 points.
Wow.
27 points on that defense at home. And away, you can only imagine they're probably better away. I forget the number for away for their defense, but they're giving up 27 points at home. That defense is dog shit too. And with Joshua Dobbs, like as a Cardinals fan, you're like, when is Kyler getting back? You're really like asking for Kyler, a guy you fucking hated last year. You're like, when is this guy going to get back? James Conner is hurt. Their wide receiver, was it Christian Kirk? Or no, he's on the Jags, right?
Yeah, Christian Kirk's on the Jags. You're talking about for the Cardinals?
For the Cardinals, yeah. It used to be DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, it used to be DeAndre Hopkins. He's gone. But whoever their wide receivers are, they're having just a tough time offensively. Joshua Dobbs is making the worst decisions ever. Again, tough out in the beginning. There were 1-3. Then you get to those 4, 5, 6, 7 losses, and you're like, this team's garbage. So the Ravens, dude, are going to have a day, like you said. They're going to win by multiple scores. So I'm taking the Ravens in Arizona.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of, expert predictions. They say that the score prediction 23, Cardinals 16.
No,
I'm not seeing that at all. Now,
not at all.
They're at home, and we have seen the rate. Lamar Jackson plays his best when he's an underdog. So there may be some of like, we're playing the Cardinals. You know what I mean? They suck.
Yeah.
So maybe some kind of trap game scenario where they still win, but the score's a little bit closer. But I just think at the end of the day, John Harbaugh is too good of a coach to fall for any of that. He's a very week-to-week guy. Lamar Jackson's playing great. I think this is literally the definition of overthinking it. I don't think this is going to be a close game. So the experts, they suck. Watch us, subscribe to our channel.
100%.
We're at like what was it, 83% success rate this year. So if you want to know who to pick, just continue to follow us.
Yeah, and what was the other thing I was going to say? Like, this game, I can see the Ravens winning by multiple scores, like we said, but I can also see this, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I can also see this going the Cardinals' way on a missed kick by Justin Tucker.
No way.
Like, I can see both extremes. Like, I can see both of those things going. So I don't know. That's just me.
I mean, yeah, it's the NFL, so you can always see like that scenario where it's like, how did this happen? Let me give you my scenario of how did this happen. How did the Denver Broncos break the streak against the Kansas City Chiefs? The Denver Broncos are going to win this game, and I'm telling you, they've played Kansas City tough the last 3 times. Now, all people tend to look at is 16 in a row, but look at the last one. Denver had a lead going into the 4th quarter. And they were down 3. They lost by 3 in the second one after firing their head coach. And then last 2 weeks ago, they played and they held Kansas City to 19 points. 1 for 4 in the red zone or 1 for 5 in the red zone. The defense has been totally different. I don't know what changed. We lost Kareem Jackson for this game, but it may be a blessing in disguise because PJ Locke came in and got the game-winning interception that sealed the game. The only difference is this is in Denver, and I really think Denver's starting to lean into the running game. They had their most complete running game against the Packers last week, where Jaleel McLaughlin was averaging 10 yards per carry, while Javonte Williams looked like his old self. I think this is, Cortland Sutton was finally he was being targeted, he was catching, he was
unlocked.
It was a lot. There was unlocked, exactly. And this game being at home, I think Denver needs this one. I think Denver is the upset of the week. I think Denver is I think this could be a season defining win right here because you play Buffalo next.
Yep. This one was, I'm not gonna lie, Kyle, this one was pretty easy for me, dude. Show me you can beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
Never guess it unless you'll never guess it right if you wait for that. You'll always be wrong once.
I would rather be wrong this one time than to pick the Broncos the last 16 times. Let's be real. It's going to be tough for them because look, this offense for the Broncos, man, has been rough to watch. They barely beat the Packers, and that was on a game-sealing interception, like you said. They only scored 19
Packers
points.
Aren't bad. That's what happens once you win. Once a bad team beats a team, all of a sudden that team is dog shit.
Yeah,
it was
dog shit.
Let's forget that the Packers almost came back against the Lions. It's like, no, they're dog shit.
I need to see that, dude. I really need to see a complete game from Russell Wilson, from the running game and from the defense. I need to see a 20-17 Broncos win, something that's like, wow, they won convincingly in that sense that they beat the Chiefs and held them to under 20 points. Dude, this is going to be a tough one for the Broncos. I'm picking the Chiefs from this one because, again, the Chiefs are the fucking Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are absolutely killing it. The Taylor Swift effect is taking over Kansas City right now. She's doing high fives with fucking Brittany Mahomes. She's bumping booties with her. She's taking Travis to New York, probably giving him that pregame and, just getting him ready for the game, dude. It's tough to pick against the Kansas City Chiefs. That's why they were I think they were my number 2 team in the top 5 that we had, and they were your number 1 team. So again, prove to me that you can beat them in a very complete game from the Broncos, and I will start believing in the Broncos. Until then, man, Russ is having a better season again, but his decision-making, I feel like sometimes is just tough to watch.
Yeah, and look, I think that this team under Sean Payton, it's taken a little bit longer to get rolling than, people would like, but I also think it's a little unfair to bring somebody in and just expect to win right away. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't expect to succeed at a certain point. And I think that point is we're getting really close to it because we started off with the defense being the worst unit in the NFL. And then we have Russell Wilson, scoring 27, 28 points. And we're like, hey, wait a minute. With these numbers in last year's defense, we'd be undefeated. Yeah. But the defense was absolute garbage. Yep. And then we weren't really running the football. Because our defense was garbage, we needed to score a lot of points, so you can't really run the football. I think at this point, with just coming off this really great running game, Denver has shown you that they are finally becoming a complete team. Yeah, it's 8 weeks too late for 2023, but it doesn't mean that they can't finish this season with 7 or 8 wins and have something to build off of next year, like the Lions last year. Right? They started off losing most of their games, but then something switched. And I think this is kind of one of those games where that one thing can switch. But like you said, the Chiefs, they're the gold standard of the NFL. They are exactly what you want. They're the youngest defense in the NFL. Mm-hmm. They're up there with any defense that you name. This isn't going to be an easy win, but I do think it helps being at home. And I also think it helps that 2 weeks ago they played in Denver. was competitive. I think that helps the mentality going into this game. They weren't embarrassed, because we know like how that can kind of linger on. So yeah, I'm also a Broncos fan if you didn't know. So I'm gonna take the Broncos here.
Yeah, man. It's just tough. And I love you, and I root for the Broncos every single Sunday, every Thursday, every Monday, and I'm going to root for them against the Chiefs. I want my prediction to be wrong for you, my friend. I want it to be wrong for you, my friend Kyle, but I have a hard time seeing it. If they beat them Sunday, then you're right. Upset of the week, easy in the NFL Week 8.
Dude, you know what that would do for my life right now? You have
Dude,
no idea.
Monday's episode, Kyle would just be like smiling and fucking doesn't matter. Nothing can ruin his week.
I've been wondering, I'm like, why am I not happy? Oh yeah, 16 in a row.
Kyle would, if the Broncos won, Kyle would put him in his top 5.
I will not address that at this moment. But our next game is one of the games that I just don't even want to look at, man.
Same.
I'm going to tell you, to be honest, what I'm going to do here is I'm taking the Bengals to win this game on the road. Wow. Bengals are coming off a bye week, I believe. They've had plenty of time to rest for this game, so I don't think the Ohio to California traveling is a factor in this game. And I think the 49ers are going to want to bounce back. I get all that, but it still doesn't mean it's going to happen. Trent Williams is not going to play in this game. That is a huge deal. The 49ers are putting Brock Purdy in concussion protocol, so Sam Darnold is going to actually start this game.
Wow.
And it was awesome because my mom had called me this morning about this, and I said, Cincinnati. When I got to the gym about 30 minutes after, it was up on the TV, and I was like, oh, fuck yeah, we got the Bengals in. Yeah. I do think that you can't really just plug and play against anybody with Kyle Shanahan. I know people think you can, but I think this is a game the Bengals have to have, and I think they get it on the road.
I highly disagree with this one. And this is probably the second game we disagree with.
Yeah.
And look, Cincy on the bye, great. They got all the rest. Joey B might be, better suited for this game. He played through the injury and he looked good in those couple wins to get to 3-3 now. But I think they fought a 3-4, man. And Cincy is with Burrow 3-1 after the bye, but their defense away is giving up 23 points. And the 49ers, honestly, with Darnold, not a bad backup. Not a bad, probably one of the better backups you want in the league in this Kyle Shanahan offense. CMC is probably going to play. Trent Williams is out. Okay, got it. I understand. The rest of the line is pretty good, but that left side is going to struggle. They still got a bunch of weapons on offense, and they're going to want to win this game, especially at home after what happened in Minnesota last week. San Francisco, I think, is going to win this. It's going to be close up to the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, I think they're going to pull away. That defense for Cincy is just not great right now. Cincy's going to fall below 500. 49ers are going to come away with a win at home by 10.
We saw last year the 49ers, I think they were 1-3 or 2-5 by week 7. It was not great, or 2-4.
Yeah.
The 49ers, when I close my eyes, I do this when I really don't know what to do. I close my eyes and I visualize a headline on Monday morning. And I try to see what I see. And really what I see coming is panic mode for San Francisco. No, of course it's not. No. Of course it's not panic time for San Francisco. But I do think, like, if the Bengals are going to be the team that they've been, right? If this was a Bengals team that had been winning most of their games this season, nobody would pick the 49ers without Brock Purdy. They'd be like, yeah, we're taking the Bengals. They're literally the second best team in the AFC. But because the Bengals got off to a slow start, we're not really doing that. We're kind of looking at it, like, okay, maybe. Look, the Bengals, the last 2 games before their bye week, Joe Burrow looked like himself. So T. Higgins actually had time to rest and heal. I think he was dealing with a rib injury, which was affecting his ability to outstretch those arms as
Yeah.
a receiver. It's a huge problem if you're a wide receiver to have a rib injury. So I just think if you're the Bengals, like not only is this like a have to win game, but it's like if you're trying to win a Super Bowl this year, we're at the halfway point of the season. You have to win this game. You're coming off your bye. You're more healthy. Joe Burrow's been looking better and better because that injury to his calf early in the season, it affected him more than anybody knew. He couldn't plant that leg. He wasn't able to drive. And once it started getting better, we're like, oh, okay. This is the game where everyone's gonna be like, Joe Burrow's back. That's like basically the way I think it's gonna be looked at.
I agree with like the whole like the Bengals have to win this one, and they're going to do everything they can. And Burrow is going to go out there and do whatever he needs to do. We saw him run, we saw him play through the injury. This is a tough motherfucker. I can't like he can only control one side of the ball. And Bill, yes, Debo is out for this game as well with Trent Williams. So correct.
And our next game, drum roll, please. We got the Chicago Bears taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. It's a road game for the Chargers. The Chargers have not been great this season. They have talent, but they haven't been able to put it together. They lost to a couple, tough teams, but the Chargers and then Dallas. I think they're going to be looking for a bounce back win against the Chargers. But there's one thing I want to mention is that the Chargers continue to underachieve and are now the most talented 2-win team in the league, which is an opinion, but it's one that I feel strongly about. So that's why I pasted it. I don't know. I'm taking the Chargers. taking the Chargers because they're at home.
This is almost a mirror image of the Falcons-Titans game. I'm going to take the Chargers too because they're at home and the Bears. Look, the Tyson Bagent game last week against the Raiders, awesome game. He came out and he looked great and he looked like a game manager in a good sense, right? Like he was able to get the ball out quickly. He was able to progress the ball. Deontay Foreman obviously was running the ball amazingly. And the defense has been doing well. How you have it right there. It does not have a strong pass rush at all. So Herbert is going to have more than enough time to throw the ball. And that's where the differences in teams is at. There's so much more talented players on the offense for the Chargers than there is any talented defense on the Bears. We have some good players. Don't get me wrong. Jalen Johnson had 2 picks last week with a pick 6. Tyreek Stevenson is a up and coming rookie. Kyler Gordon. Oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. Brisker, our dog on defense. Like those are good names if you're a Chicago Bears fan. They haven't made it to the marquee yet. They're not those type of players like Eddie Jackson was back in 2018, 2019. They're not there. I'm also looking at, how this Chargers defense is bad. This Chargers defense is just not good. They're probably going to give up like 20 plus points to the Bears. That's how bad they are. But they're going to sack the shit out of Bagent, in my opinion. Bagent can get the ball out quick just like he did last week, but I don't know if this is going to be similar to last week against the Raiders. It's just going to be a tough time for the Bears in general. And that's why I'm picking the Chargers at home, man. This is just, again, a game that I'm just kind of like, I am going to root for the Bears. I'm going to root for Tyson Bagent to look good. I'm going to root for the running game. Roshan Johnson's back. The defense has been playing well, so hopefully they can get something going and really put themselves, up there in terms of mid-tier defenses. But I just have a hard time seeing it with Herbert and that offensive talent on that side. Chargers are going to win, but it'll probably be like 27-23, something like that, 27-21. It won't be by much.
Yeah, and I do think for you guys, I don't know if as Bear fans you guys expected it, but Tyson Bennett, or is that how you Bagent. Mm-hmm. Coming into the game, I think he played a lot better than most people expected. I think that's fair to say. So
yeah, he can't. He can't do it twice. He cannot do it twice.
Well, that's the question though. Is what if he can? Because if he did it once on his first start ever, right? And that was that game, man, wasn't even close. Like the
Yeah.
Bears, they won that game by a lot. They controlled the game the whole time. They kind of got an identity. Meanwhile, because they were running the ball with Dante Foreman, he got 3 touchdowns in that game. And who were they playing last week?
The
The Raiders.
Raiders.
The Raiders, which is like the equivalent to the Chargers right now. It's like, yeah, there's like, I guess the Chargers are more talented, but when it comes to, who's been playing better football, it's like the Chargers and the Raiders, you feel the same way about them right now. Maybe a little more on the Chargers, but still, I mean, they've shown that they can't really beat good teams these last 2 weeks ever since Mike Williams has gone out. So I do think for the Bears, I'm just keeping my eye on it. That's all I'll say. I'm still taking the Chargers here, but I don't think by any means that this couldn't turn into a mid-season firing from the Chargers head coach. And I think that's kind of where we're headed if this happens.
Yeah, I think Eberflus for the Bears is the team is won enough to they won a game against the Raiders to keep his job, and they won that game against the Commanders. But yeah, for the Chargers, if they lose this one at home, it's looking rough for Staley. And like I said, our last episode, you got to take a look at Herbert at some point too. Again, you don't agree, with kind of what I was saying, at least for the most part. But I don't know. It may be that, right? It may be Herbert too. It might not just be Staley, maybe Herbert. But for the Bears, they beat the Raiders convincingly. Again, mostly off the run game with Deontay Foreman, playing as well as he did, in Darrington Evans, getting a couple touches there. If Tyson Bagent can't play like he did last week against the Raiders, this may be a completely different game. I still think it's going to be very close, but I think the Chargers win at the end of the day. Yeah.
Well, let's keep it in the AFC West. No. Let's keep it in the NFC North for you. Wait, let's do both. We got the Charger or the Raiders.
Give it up for Kyle for that one. That was a good one. That's a good one.
Thanks. Yeah, we got the Raiders going into Detroit, into Ford Field. Detroit coming off of a blowout loss to the Ravens, while the Raiders lost by 18 to the Bears, who we just talked about. So you got both teams that are wanting to right their wrongs coming off an ugly win. But one of these teams is way better in complete. I'm taking Detroit. It's not even to me like something that's hard to think about here.
Same, dude. Same. The Raiders they're hot garbage, and they're absolute dog shit. They are absolute dog shit. Josh McDaniels there is just, he has never been a head coach. He never will be a head coach. He's not a head coach right now. He's just not that guy, man. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. All right, Josh McDaniels, you're just not a head coach. You're a coordinator, and you're a good assistant head coach, probably. You might be good in college. Who knows? Maybe your recruiting tactics are
maybe that's his thing.
Maybe that might be his thing. Who knows? All I know is he's not a good NFL head coach. Dan Campbell, on the other hand, is a great NFL head coach. He's able to fucking lead this team to the 5-2 record that they're at now. And yes, they had an embarrassing loss against the Ravens. That's what's going to give them even more fuel to the fire against this shitty Raiders team. They're going to want this win. Jared Goff especially is going to want this win, and they're going to take the points when they are within field goal range, no matter what in this game. They're going to understand the mistakes they made last week against the Ravens and be like, cool, 4th and 2? Okay, get the fucking field goal at the 25. I don't give a shit. We want points on the board because we were only be able to put 9 last week or something like that. Like they are going to take the points when they can get them. But I think this is going to be somewhat close to the Bears game against the Raiders last week, where they beat them by multiple scores.
Yeah. I definitely don't think, this is kind of one of those games for Josh McDaniels where it feels like he has to win it because of how bad last year went, which came to my mind when you were talking about he is not a head coach, right? Yeah. But he did lose his starting quarterback, and he is playing
Brian Hoyer and
Aiden O'Connell. So yeah. I do think there's got to be a little bit of grace when it comes to that, but it doesn't matter when it comes to predicting this. Like Josh McDaniels has even before that not looked like a head coach. So I agree with that.
Yep.
I think the Raiders on primetime tend to play a little more feisty than they do at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time when they normally play. But I'm still going to go with the Lions here. This is a great spot for the Lions to get that taste out of their mouth and just stomp a mud hole in the disgusting Raiders. God, they're so nasty.
Oh, well, that was our week 8 predictions. I hope you guys enjoyed them. I hope you guys agree. And even if you don't, well, then you're wrong, because we got a great winning record here at Only Football. But that was our week 8 predictions. Let's go into Kyle, our next segment. It's called the week 8 favorite matchups of this week coming up. Do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first, Kyle?
You can go first.
Okay. So my first favorite matchup, 1 out of 2, is going to be someone whose jersey I have. Former Bear, Khalil Mack. Chargers versus Bears on Sunday Night Football. Khalil Mack's revenge game in a sense, right? They traded him, or they released him. I forgot what it was. Basically salary dumped him in 2022. And that was Ryan Poles. He's like, you know what? I got to get rid of these guys. We got to get some salary cap. We got to do this. We got to do that. And he's been on the Chargers, and he has still looked very good. He isn't talked about as much as like an Aaron Donald, as much as a Bosa or the other guys, right? Like, he has not been talked about. The Watts, he isn't talked about that much like he was in 2019, 2020, 2018 when he was like NFL Defensive Player of the Year, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. He is still very, very good and very, very dominant. So, and even though he's a part of a bad defense, he's still very dominant. So I'm very excited to see him against the Bears, and especially against this offensive line. I know he's going to want to sack his old team. It's not the Raiders, but it's the Bears, where he did have some success. So I'm very excited to see what Khalil Mack does against this Bears offensive line and just the team in general. Again, old team, who knows what he wants to do or how he's going to do it. I just think he's going to want to have his best game against the Bears.
Yeah, and he will. And it's funny because it's like, is it the Bears or because remember, Khalil Mack,
he was a Raider.
Yep. So that'll be interesting. I like that one. So the one I wanted to bring up, I mentioned it earlier. If you didn't catch it, I'll do it again. It's the New York Giants and the New York Jets, ranked 27th and 28th against stopping the run. This is my matchup to watch. The team that runs the football more effectively between the Jets and the Giants, with the Jets are ranked, I think, 11th in rushing yards per game, while the Giants are in the bottom when it comes to running. So I think Breece Hall is going to have, maybe over 100 yards and a touchdown. And I think that's going to be what kind of drives that. But if there's one matchup to look at, it's who's going to stop the run and who's going to have a better game between Breece Hall and Saquon Barkley.
Totally agree, because that was my other favorite matchup of the week, was New York versus New York. Baldy versus Baldy as far as head coach. Two very below average quarterbacks, whether it's Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor and Zach Wilson. Unfortunately, Rodgers isn't playing, or else we'd be telling a very different story. But two very mediocre quarterbacks, two solid defenses. The Giants, especially in the last 2 weeks, the Jets, just in general, I think the last year and a half. So that was my other favorite matchup of this week, was New York versus New York. Dable versus Xerxes, and Bill hates me. He says you're dead to me. New York tears.
So I do have one more, and that is a game that when I mentioned it, there was a little bit of like, oh, I'm not really sure. The first overall pick playing the second overall pick, the Texans and the Panthers.
Yep.
Did you know that now that we're here at week 9, Denver played 2 good defensive games? The new leader for worst defense in the NFL. Well, they're tied with us. They're 30. We're both giving up an average of 31. But remember, we had that 70-point game, so that kind of throws everything off. So, but Carolina's consistently giving up. In their last 3 games, they're averaging 35 points that they're giving up in their last 3. In their last game, they gave up 42. Right? When they're at home, they're only giving up 20.5. When they're away, they're giving up 36.3. So you look at that, that's a big difference. That's a 20-point swing. So Carolina is one of the worst defenses. But if you only looked at how they play defensively at home, they're actually, let's see where that would rank. So Carolina's given up 20.5 at home. That would put them at number 15 in the NFL. That's middle of the pack.
Wow.
Way different game. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. Panthers defensively, they're the worst in the NFL, but they're playing at home. And the other thing is that the Texans, when it comes to running the ball, are actually ranked. I think they were at 11. Where did they go? Houston. I lost them. Oh, yeah. It's Texans, not Houston. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Texans. Wait, no, it's the Houston Texans.
Oh, no, I was trying to find it, and I couldn't find Houston. Okay, and I was like, because it says, Houston's 17th. So they're getting 108 rushing yards per game, which is pretty good. Defensively, we know that, they can kind of hold their own out there. So it'll be really, really exciting. But I think as much as we want to say like, oh, Texans are going to mop the floor with the Panthers, I think I'm going to hold off on that, seeing this new matchup, the fact that they're at home, this new stat, it suggests that it might be more competitive than we think.
Great. Yeah, no, I agree. Middle of the pack at home. I like that because, we talked about, what did I talk about? The Arizona Cardinals giving up 27 points at home and the Ravens, scoring 22 plus away. Like, that's just a recipe for success for the Ravens. So those were our week 8 favorite matchups. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you guys agreed, disagreed. Bill definitely disagreed with mine as far as the Jets and Giants, but hey, that's who we be, baby. That's who we be.
But we're Kyle, still cheering for the Giants, right?
Oh, all the time, sort of. Kyle, do you have anything else for week 8 favorite matchups?
No, that's all I got.
All right. I wanted to introduce a segment that I'm going to do right around this same time. I think every NFL season, around week 8, week 7, 8, 9, something like that. And I just want to paint a picture for you first, Kyle. There's a high school team versus another high school team, both in the state championship. The high school team with the ball at the 20-yard line, clock ticking down, quarterback looking, 3, 2, 1. Ball snaps. He gets the ball. He moves back in his 3-step drop. He's looking to pass. He avoids a sack, busting the guy over and blah, blah, blah. He realizes that he's not going to be able to get the ball to a receiver, so he starts running in slow motion, running over one of the defenders, gets to about the goal line, and he meets with other defenders, his offensive line trying to push him, and he's short as he falls to the ground. He looks to the ref. The ref waves it off, says, no good. This team in their black and white uniforms miss the goal line. They do not score the touchdown. They lose the state championship. As they're leaving their locker rooms for the last time in their high school career, the quarterback and the safety and the running back are at their car. The safety says, looking at the home field, goes, I'm going to miss the heat. And the running back says, I'm going to miss the lights. What movie am I talking about, Kyle?
Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights. I'm going to miss the lights. This segment is revolved around teams that I'm predicting will not make the playoffs. How many spots are in the playoffs, Kyle? 7 in each conference. That's 14 minus 32 makes 18 teams that I am calling right now that will not make the playoffs. Are you ready for this list?
I'm ready.
Coming in at number 1 through 3.
I got to hold you accountable.
Okay. Well, I've got it typed down. So if you want me to send it to you, I will.
I'll hold you accountable on my own. Right. I'm kidding.
Bitch. Number 1, through 3, NFC South, the Panthers, the Bucks, and the Falcons are going to miss the playoffs this year. They are not going to make it to the playoffs. Number 4 through 5, AFC East, the Patriots and the Jets will not make the playoffs this year. Dolphins and Bills will make the playoffs. Number 6 through 7, the Browns and the Steelers from the AFC North will not make the playoffs this year. Number 8 to 9, AFC South, the Titans and the Colts will not make the playoffs this year. That leaves the Texans and the Jaguars to make the playoffs. Number 10 through 12, and I'm so sorry, the AFC West, the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Raiders will not make the playoffs this year. Number 13 through 14, Bill, I apologize, and Jinja, I apologize earlier. The Giants and the Commanders from the NFC East will not make the playoffs this year. Number 15 to 16, the NFC North. The Packers and the Bears will not make the playoffs this year. I apologize to myself already. Number 17 through 18, the NFC West, the Cardinals and the Rams will not make the playoffs this year. They are going to be those 3 high school football players outside of football stadiums come wild card Saturday and Sunday and think, I'm going to miss the lights. Those are my 18 teams that are not making the playoffs 2023 season.
I like it. I mean, I would say that there's a couple in there that I think have a chance. Like if I had to rank it, I would say the Jets, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh are the ones that I would keep an eye on. Like I think for right now it's a good list, but I'm keeping my eye on Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and the Jets because the Jets are kind of a wild card right now because their defense may be the best, like historical good.
And part of this was like, oh, I'm not just going to fucking pick the teams with the worst record, right? Because that's just way too easy. And I thought, okay, let me look at all the divisions and let me look at the 14 teams that I know for sure, or at least in my opinion, I know for sure are going to make the playoffs. And then I just deducted all the losers from that and thought, yep, these are my predictions. That's what's going to happen.
So Tampa's not, or you got Tampa in the playoffs?
I got Tampa missing the playoffs.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I've got the Panthers, the Bucks, and the Falcons all missing the playoffs. The Saints are the only
I wrote
one.
Bucks instead of TB. That's why I got confused.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, man. Well, it'll be interesting to see if it changes. Do you want mine?
Absolutely.
All right, so I agree. Green Bay, Chicago, Carolina, Rams, Washington, Giants, Raiders, Denver, Tennessee, Indy. Now here are the ones that I'm looking at. All right, so Miami potentially makes the playoffs. The New York Jets, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh. I'm going to say only one of these teams gets in.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do have the Bengals making the playoffs.
I do.
So, man, it's just tough. There's not that many spots. You know what I mean? Like the AFC is ridiculously tough. It
was a tough one. It was a tough one to do.
At this point in the season, I'm going to literally agree with every one of these teams. It's just not a right time to pull anyone. You know, like I'm not going to pull Baltimore into missing the playoffs at this point, coming off that win that they had. But we'll see, you know, because I remember last year it was like week 4 or no, it was like week 6. And I was like, I got Green Bay coming back and making the playoffs. And you were like, fuck you. And week 17 or week 18, they were playing for a chance to get in. So there is going to be a team on this list that is going to surprise you. And I just don't know who it's going to be yet, but I got Cleveland and Pittsburgh circled.
Ooh, okay. That AFC North was hard.
Oh, and I do have Atlanta winning their division.
And so does Edub. Falcons winning the NFC South.
Hey!
Book it. Book it. So Edub, you and Kyle got that. And again, look, I just needed to do this because I thought, what better way to do it, or what better week to do it than week 8 right now, right? Like, it's still unpredictable. I made this before the Bills and the Tampa Bay Bucks game, so there was nothing off of that game that, made me change my mind or anything like that with the Bucks, even after losing. Like, none of that happened. I just wanted to put it out there because I thought, well, if I only do this week by week, then it's like, okay, well, no shit, this team isn't going to make the playoffs. I thought week 8, let me make all the teams that I think are not going to make the playoffs. Let me just put them in one big list, put it out there. And if I'm wrong, then it's the end of the world because I'm always right. Because I'm always right. So that was, I'm going to miss the lights. Friday Night Lights. Go watch that scene.
Yeah, I knew. I was like, I've seen this before as you were saying it.
Yeah.
I was like, Friday Night Lights. I'm glad I got that right. We had no pre-conversations about this. So
yeah,
I
wanted to make it a surprise for you, Kyle, because I was like, if I describe it right, Kyle will absolutely get this movie correct.
Oh, and you did. You did. I definitely was thinking I've seen this before.
Let me know in the comments, guys, if you're watching this now on the live stream or in the YouTube video, what you think about my I'm gonna miss the lights segment. But Kyle, what do we got for the little chives?
The chives you ask for, the chives you receive. Every time I switch to this, the thumbnail automatically has it. And I'm like, that was like 1 minute of our podcast. Why is that? It's so funny. Okay, so we know CJ Stroud, Bryce Young going against each other. Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota were the last first and second I could find. There's probably let's see, Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, have they've faced off, I would imagine.
Yes, but Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow were separate years.
Yeah, separate years. So I was trying to think of one. I could only think of Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. So I looked it up. And Mariota, currently a perfect 2-0 against Winston in college and the NFL. The one time they played each other, I believe that was last year or the year before, and Mariota won. And the one thing I'll keep in mind is we picked the Texans to win, and just like Marcus Mariota, CJ Stroud was picked second and not first. So that's my chives, is that if you're thinking about going with the Panthers, maybe history would suggest that the number 2 quarterback is the better quarterback selected some years. And this year definitely so far seems like one of them.
I love it. That's a good one. And I think I'm trying to think of like Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. I don't know if they were 1 and 2. I think Zach Wilson was number 3 because Trevor Lawrence was definitely number 1.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence was number 1.
I think Zach Wilson was 3.
Trey Lance?
Or
no,
Trey
Zach Wilson
Lance.
was 2 and then Trey Lance.
Let me see here. I'm going to look it up because that is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think Zach Wilson was selected number 2, and then it went Trey Lance at number 3. And then we had, I think last year, we only had 1 quarterback selected in the first round, and that was Kenny Pickett. So, yeah, that's why I couldn't think. I was like, no, there hasn't been number 1 versus number 2.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence was 1, and like you said, Zach Wilson was 2, Trey Lance was 3. Trey Lance was 3. Yep.
Who drafted number 4? Which team?
The team whose tight end is never utilized in the offense, it seemed like.
The Giants.
Nope.
Tight ends never utilized.
Yeah, until like the last couple of weeks.
Not the Bills, right?
Bird team.
Oh, the Raiders.
Falcons.
Oh, okay, Falcons.
Yeah. They picked Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts. I had it. I was going to try to guess it. All right, who's the next team? Then I'm done.
Jamar Chase.
No, the team.
Who is Jamar Chase on? What team is he on?
No. Like the Bengals. Who drafted after the Bengals?
After the Bengals were the Dolphins.
And the Dolphins selected Tua Tagovailoa. No, they already had him. I lose. Xavier. No.
Xavier.
Xavier Howard?
Yeah, but it wasn't him in this draft. So,
oh fuck.
No, Jamar Chase was the wide receiver, right? Remember, I gave you the stat that Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts were the two quarterbacks selected. They got like their franchise QBs, and then they picked two top 10 wide receivers.
Ooh.
So it was Jamar Chase and
Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle.
Oh, Jalen Waddle was drafted that high?
Yep, he was number 7 or whatever.
Dude, I did not know
6.
that Jalen Waddle was drafted that high.
Yeah,
that is, because we watched the draft, but ever since this podcast, like now I stream the draft, so it's like, I wouldn't remember that, but I guess that year it just kind of got lost in me. Jalen Waddle picked way higher than I remember. Well, that was fun. That was fun. We should do some of that more.
Yeah, guessing the draft. Thank you guys so much for joining us this episode for Week 8 predictions. I hope you caught our stream for Thursday Night Football and then our reactions to Thursday Night Football. The Bills beating who, Kyle?
Who did the Bills beat? D, final answer.
The Bucs and Baker Mayfield. They beat the Bucs and Baker Mayfield. I hope you guys enjoyed that stream and this one right here. You can always follow us at Twitter and now Rick. Kyle, where can they follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me at FTBLONLYPODCST. It's up there. It's down there.
It's over there. It's on everywhere. My hat. It's on my ass. I got it tattooed on my ass.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, and you will stay up to date in the NFL.
Yep, for sure. Make sure to always tune into Only Football here because we're going to be bringing you live streams, prediction episodes. I'm going to tell you what teams aren't making the playoffs and what will make the playoffs. And then, we're going to just talk shit about you guys too. Bill doesn't like me because I talk shit about the Giants, but hey, we predicted a win last week and they got the win. Bill, you should be happy with that. Look at that.
Yeah. Let's just remember that instead.
Yeah, but go follow us on Twitter and make sure to talk to us. Bill's always talking to us on Twitter. We're always replying. We love replying to you guys, not only here on the streams, but on Twitter. So go check that out. Kyle, another great episode, and I will see you for Sunday, Week 8, baby.
Hell yeah, brother. See you.